All right, we are here in St. George. A little bit different this time around. We got the Kona video together, or Kona recap, pretty late after the race, and it was already race week by the time it worked out for Gerard and I to get together to do the shooting. So because of that, we're going to just do kind of a pre-race, post-race video. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about where we're at now, and then most of the video will be after the post-race thoughts anyways. But yeah, so got to St. George on Tuesday. It's just a short 10-hour drive to get here. So made that drive after a quick swim Tuesday. Training post-Kona has finally come around a little bit. It's always tough coming and trying to force things a little bit back at altitude because the heart rate is obviously always going to be a little bit higher than normal going or when I come back to altitude anyways. So trying to kind of turn the screws a little bit earlier than I normally would have to get ready for this. It's always a little bit of a head game because the heart rate and power just don't match up where they should, but came back down to 3,000 feet here in St. George, and everything kind of has been looking pretty good this week as far as that's concerned. So all good there. Body's feeling good. No aches or pains or anything like that yet. I'm sure there will be after the race, but so far so good. Overall for the race, I'm not coming into this race with the expectation of, holding the banner at the end. If the opportunity presents itself, I won't try to shy away from that. But really, in order to have a good day here, I have to manage the first hour better than I have the last three races. I've been able to put together decent days, but with this race, it doesn't. The 70.3 racing at this level, or the shorter PTO races, are just getting so fast in all capacity that you have to be ready to go out of the gun. And I haven't started well, and that's really hurt me in the two PTO races, and then in Kona as well. Collins Cup, I actually had a pretty good start of the race, and was able to have definitely one of the better swims that I've done. So the tools are there. It's just threading the needle the right way. And, with it being a little cooler, I definitely have to do a lot more warm up in the morning and just, do all the little things to try to give myself as good a chance as I can, to nail that first 500. And the tough part about this race is it's only a 17-meter wide start line and we're standing for the 50 plus guys who are here. So that first couple hundred is going to be pretty nasty. It's definitely not something I'm looking forward to, but hopefully we can get out quick and get some clean water early on. And then, it's just putting myself in the mix with an opportunity to see how things shake out on the run. If I do my job early on, I think I can have a good result at the end. If I don't, it's going to be a tough day. But overall, it's just going out and enjoying another opportunity to see where I stack up against the best in the world. And so that's where I'm thinking leading into this race. right, time to
talk through 70.3 worlds. It was perfectly adequate. That's kind of the response that I come up with every time somebody asks me what my thoughts are on it. It's weird, I feel fine about the day. It wasn't an amazing day, but there was nothing awful about it either. So yeah, perfectly adequate is about the only way that I've come up with to describe it. Obviously the race wasn't my focus. If, being so shortly after Kona, in a normal year, I probably wouldn't have gone to it, but since I could drive to the race and, we had a lot of people from the team that were racing it as well. So I got to see some of the athletes that I coach and some of the athletes that, my coach's coach. So that was another reason that I would, it would have been good just for me to be there. So I decided to race. Body was feeling good. I came around well after Kona. And yeah, I think with 3 world championships here, if you'd asked me at the beginning of the season, which one I would have had the highest finish, there was been 0% chance that it would have been 70.3 worlds. So, but that's the way it worked out. Yeah, the swim, very much the same story as Kona was this year. I got off to a rough start. I don't try to rock the boat too often. I will say that it is a very big shame that if they're going to have 60 people on the start line at a world championships, to try to cram them in to 17 yards is not a good look. I hope they fix that in the future. It was the same for the world championships when it was there in May. That's not the fair start that we want. It just creates chaos. Everything else about the course is great. So I guess there's always going to be 1 or 2 things that you don't like, but yeah, that was rough, and it made for a very physical first couple hundred yards. And I got off and I was in the group that I needed to be in, but again, just like Kona, I was in the back of the group. This time, instead of the break opening 1 person in front of me, it opened 2 people in front of me. And I saw it a little bit earlier this time. I was able to swim around, and really get close to bridging up. So I got to the point where, right before the first turn, I thought I was on, but just was always about 10 to 15 meters back. I couldn't close that last 10 to 15 meters. When you're trying to bridge, you have to swim the same speed or faster than the person in front of the group. And, and I got close and just wasn't able to close that down. And so I was basically holding steady with that group for the last, 1,000 meters, and came out, so I really swam a lot harder than I normally would have if I make the group and I'm able to kind of sit in and get the benefit of the draft there. And so came out, heart rate was really high, still had a good transition, got onto the bike and was always just off the group. And, I would, everybody rides really hard for the first 45 minutes especially in a world championship race. And so bridging a 10-second gap seems really easy, but in reality, it's, you have to go above threshold because everybody else is going at threshold and getting a little bit of a benefit from the group. And so I was able to, every time I would catch the back of the group, it was kind of splintering up front because it was a big group. And, so guys were kind of getting broken off the back. And so I'd catch the group and then have to go around them and then have to bridge up and catch the group. So just never got a chance to relax and settle in. And yeah, I didn't actually strap on my shoes until almost 40 minutes into the ride was when I finally basically the gap was too big at that point for me to be able to keep doing what I was doing. I had caught maybe 10 people at that point, but by the time I got through all that, it was just too big of a gap. And so then I had to just minimize the damage as best I could and hope for a good run. Ended up we did a little out and back right before the Snow Canyon climb, and I was able to catch a group of about 10 guys, I think, maybe not quite 10, that had kind of reformed of people that had gotten, that had trickled off that. And so I got back up to them, got to the front of that group, on the Snow Canyon climb. I think that splintered up on the climb. I rode the climb really well and then descended fine onto the run, and the run was fine. I was just a little bit too far back. I told coach and my wife ahead of time that I wanted splits to 10th, and I think I would have been satisfied with a top 10 performance at a race that wasn't my priority. And so I got off the bike, and I think I was 4.5 minutes out of 10th. And on a normal St. George day on that course, 4.5 minutes is certainly possible. But when the weather is that good, at that point was that good. It was obviously a little chilly in the morning, but when the weather's that good, people aren't going to blow up like they normally would. And that was kind of the same thing at Kona this year. So, if you look at the numbers and everything, if the conditions were a lot harder, I might have been able to put together a better day, but it just wasn't the case, and so I ran just fine. I think I probably if I had anybody to chase at the end, probably had a little bit more in the tank, but once I moved into 12th, there was almost 2 minutes. With 5K to go, with 2 miles to go, there was 2 minutes to 11th, and I put in a little bit of time into that, but just not much. It's hard to completely tune yourself inside out when there's really not much of a chance for that to pay off. So overall, 12th in the world doesn't suck. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was just another step in the right direction. So, it's like I said, it's kind of a weird feeling. I don't know if I'm happy. I don't know. I'm certainly not mad. It's just perfectly adequate. Obviously, you talk about what went right, what went wrong on your day. The boys up front were phenomenal. Christian coming off of a stretcher in Kona to that performance is pretty spectacular. And then really hats off to Ben. Just kept on the course. A lot of people might have deviated after just not getting the result, being so close all year but not getting the result. But he got the result when it mattered the most. So great job to Ben. As far as me, the season's not over. Body's feeling good. I've got, I want to try to go and get a slot at Ironman Arizona. So I will be heading to Arizona in a couple of weeks, and then, finish off the season in Daytona. So thanks for following along. I'll keep you all informed along the way. Make sure you subscribe on your way out. We'll see you next time.